Before we proceed with the items on the agenda, I need to remind you of the usual housekeeping messages. There are no alarms test planned this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber by the nearest door, then follow the illuminated fire exit signs and assemble in the car park at the rear of the building. You have the right to film this meeting if you so wish, but I would like to know before we begin whether anyone in the room plans to do this. If you intend filming the meeting or part of it, would you please indicate now? Okay. Finally, could you all please ensure that your phones and tablets devices are on silent mode? The first item on this evening's agenda is apologies for absence. We have received apologies from Councillor Blair, Lady Dulcie Atkins and Sir Robert Atkins and Councillor Kay. Are there any more apologies to be submitted this evening?
I apologise for that. It's me!
Any apologies? Nope. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the confirmation of the minutes. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on Thursday the 6th of July 2023 be approved as a correct record?
Proposal, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Is there a seconder to that proposal?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose any amendments? For those members present on the 6th of July meeting who are in favour of confirming the minutes as a correct record, please indicate. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. Confirm the minutes of that meeting. Do any members or officers have any interest to declare on the items included on the agenda? The next item is item 4, which is announcements. I just have one announcement this evening to make. One of my fundraisers, I'm doing an evening, well I'm not, the Blackpool Male Voice Choir are doing an evening song at Hamilton Church on Friday the 6th of October 23. The tickets are £5, which can be purchased with Deborah, or you can just come on that evening. Obviously all the proceeds go to, as you know, my mayoral charities, Stan's Place, Headway and Fleetwood Beach wheelchair. It's £5, including homemade biscuits and tea and coffee. So hopefully you can attend that. Thank you. The next item is item 5, public questions or statements. However, there are no questions from the public this evening. The next item is questions on notice from the councillors. And again, there are no questions of notice from councillors. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the executive reports. A polite reminder that each speaker has 3 minutes only, and there will be 10 minutes of speaking overall for each executive report. So the first report is the leader of the council, the Councillor Vincent. Would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Request before members. With regards to point 3, the listening day, they were very good sessions. They were quite enjoyable to attend them. A lot came out of it. A conversation with the Chief Executive about the staff's priorities and what they're happy with and what their concerns are. It's very important to any organisation to know that the staff at all levels are happy. Rebecca will have been with us for 6 months and a few weeks, so I know that the plans to improve this council will be coming forward very soon from the hard work that she's done on getting to know the staff and attend the team meetings, etc. So we'll definitely do more on that in the coming months. The county deal, very quiet because it's been August. I know that they've been working very hard behind the scenes, but there haven't been enough official leaders for us to be properly updated on that. That's later this month. And finally, any of you have enough to watch Politics North West, we'll get to see yours truly on there on Sunday, making a feel like myself. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank
you, Madam Mayor. You're hopefully aware of the archaeological finds at Vaughan Hill, so for the record and also for the benefit of all councillors, we must be reading some of the comments directed at the council Can you please state what the council's stance is with regard to the archaeological finds, including whether or not the council is taking any action to ensure the digs are not prematurely curtailed by the developer? And can you also confirm that development will not proceed whilst concerns over the significant fines remain? Thank you.
Respond to that, please. Thank you.
I will respond to it, Madam Mayor, but I mean, sometimes there is confusion about whose portfolio is what, but the clue's kind of in the name of Peters, planning and economic development. But anyway, we don't own the land. Planning permission was granted by the planning committee subject to certain conditions, and one of those conditions is the dig that is going on. Until such time as those conditions have been discharged, there will be no building done on the site. So the short answer is, up until such time as those works are completed, there will be no works done on that site. So that's the conditions. There's nothing to add. I mean, that's been laid out very clearly in the council's position. That's the planning position. That's it.
Councillor Walker. Sorry.
Thank you. It's a follow-up question, which is the council were aware through our own historic environment recording in 2011 and in 2015 that the Poulton-le-Fylde site held archaeology of interest. Indeed, the fact is also recorded in the local plan 2019 at section 8 and 11, where it is highlighted that any development should be informed by an appropriate survey to determine the nature of the interest, its importance and need for any mitigation measures. The leader attended Cabinet on the 14th of July 2021 when the decision was taken that the land was no longer required for cemeteries and surplus to requirements. The Labour Group opposed the housing allocation SA1-3 to which the land refers in the draft 2017 local plan and that was subsequently approved by the Conservative councillors. Once land is sold, the council is relying on commercial archaeologists paid for by the developers to meet their planning application conditions by undertaking archaeological investigations. The tragedy being that any significant asset is discovered but then lost again at the point of no return. And the report from the Lancashire County Council archaeologists lists the rare and significance of the finds that have actually been made. So can the leader provide more detail as to what regard and steps were taken by Cabinet to understand this archaeological interest and local asset before Poulton-le-Fylde was designated as surplus and put on the open market for sale? And does he agree with the local Tory MP, Paul Maynard, who opposed this development, that the planning application for this site should have faced unsurmountable obstacles and that local historical finds should not be swallowed by concrete? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a site of archaeological interest that was never been in dispute, and the planning condition is that they do an archaeological dig and that they don't do any building, as I answered to your leader already, before that condition has been discharged. That's the appropriate condition. There's nothing to add, really.
Councillor Brian Stevenson, please. Your question?
Yes, I was to you, Madam Mayor. I had a question and a few remarks. It's really to continue on with the significant finds on Poulton-le-Fylde with archaeology. Well, I hope I'm in order now. I won't be speaking entirely to what Councillor Fairley has spoken about, to my colleague here. I just was wondering if any of these finds, what could they be? What could they be? Let us think. Now, you're digging around and you suddenly come up with things which have probably been there for 300 years. They could come in the shape of a doomsday book, you know. And they might have some relevance to future Tory policies at that time. At that time, I'm not saying it this time, but you know, those policies at that time would have been, and they could be there. You know, it might be in Shakespeare in English, but nothing. It might be on about hanging, flogging, birching, sheepskin, you know, it might be there. And these are policies which might not be relevant to us over here, but it's very relevant to some members of the government. So what I would suggest, would it not be a good idea, if you do find any of this stuff, to refer it to the Prime Minister, Richie Sunak? I'm quite sure he needs his party revigorating, renewing and refreshing, and I'm sure he'd appreciate it. Just a comment, and I hope I've got
No question there.
some support in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more?
Can I respond?
You've got one in your hand. Yes, please do.
Thank you, Brian. It was really informative. Given that you were in your mid-20s when the site was around the first time, you can tell us what it was.
Sorry, just as a new councillor that is on planning, maybe just a suggestion to other councillors that when we have got planning meetings, to familiarise themselves with policies, it might be worth coming and sitting in a public gallery to listen to meetings, because some of the things that it might answer questions for people in your wards might actually get answered within those meetings, that might make it a bit clearer that some of the things that you're asking for are actually covered in some of the policies that are in the background.
Any more questions? No. That concludes the consideration of the leaders' report. We'll now move on to the report of the resources portfolio holders. So, Councillor McKay, would you please introduce your report? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have nothing really to add to the report. The only thing I would say is on the year-end accounts, which I've been bleating on about now for 2 years, we are hopefully getting there now. We're hoping the 2020 accounts should be signed off in the coming weeks, and hopefully then our auditors can get on with the 21 accounts, and hopefully then the 22. We shouldn't actually be caught under any of this sort of legislation that's being introduced. We see in 2.1 and 2.2. Hopefully we'll be a little bit ahead of the game. But yeah, happy to take any questions.
Okay, Councillor Fail, you indicated.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Birmingham and other councils are reported to be encountering financial problems due to equal pay claims, and with the country also alerted to potential issues of reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, could the portfolio holder please provide councillors, either now or as soon as the information becomes available, a definitive statement on the impact of these issues on Wyre Council's finances?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Fail. In response to the reinforced concrete, we have actually been proactive with this, and we've already commissioned a visual inspection. So someone's going to come out and inspect all of the council-owned assets, things like the Civic Centre, the Poulton Community Centre next door, the leisure centres, the theatres. Unfortunately, because this is all over the press, these inspections, everybody is wanting them, so there is going to be a delay. It'll be 6 weeks by the time we come out and inspect our properties, but we're getting those done. Once we've got the findings of those, then we can come to you with more financial information. On the equal pay claims, we've looked into this ourselves, and we don't see any problem, we don't see any issues potentially arising from that at this council at this point. Our officers have looked into this, but if again anything comes to light, we'll bring it to members.
Thank you.
Just very quickly, sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. Leslie's answered very thoroughly, but from a finance perspective, with regards to RAC, with the age of our main buildings, we are obviously doing the right thing by checking, but we don't have any specific concerns.
Any more questions for the portfolio holder? No. That concludes the consideration of the resources portfolio holders report. We'll now move on to the report of the street themes, parks and open spaces portfolio holders. So, Councillor Brooks, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's all here before you. Just one thing I'd like to add. Today I went to officially open the Eco Garden at Baines High School. I know a few schools in the area are starting to do this. It was absolutely fantastic, and if we could encourage our schools to do this, it helps in so many ways, not just with ecology, but for all children of all abilities. I was there today and seeing how those who might not find academia to their liking, shall we say, interacting with other children and being very positive and confident and talking, and I was told about one boy in particular who's making eye contact for the first time in 3 years at the school. So when we go visiting our schools, if we mention about an eco-garden, they're very easy to do. They cost next to nothing to create, just a little patch of land, but they are a fantastic resource for all schools as well as the area. Thank you.
Councillor Brian Stevens, you indicated to speak. Thank you. I'd to ask for your question.
I'm obliged to you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick one here, Simon. I don't want to bore you too much.
Never, Brian, never.
Right. And it refers, of course, to my good friend Councillor Duffy, who you assisted by taking around or going together round her ward, looking at lots of things what you can improve. Now I would like you to do the same for Maureen, Councillor Blair and myself, to go around Warren. Now Warren, I believe many years ago, it was called Warren because it was full of rabbit holes. Right? Today it's full of potholes. So we've a lot to look at. And it tends to, when I talk about, it's the old Shakespearean question, isn't it, to be or not to be? What can we do? What can we sort out together? And we could certainly help with any problems. We can walk each and every highway, and we can do it my way. But with your help as well. So, can I take it that you will be quite prepared to join Maureen and I when it's convenient to pop round the ward?
Brian, how could I refuse your company for an afternoon or a morning? But you would have to buy the ice creams while I was out there. I would declare it though. Of course, get in touch and we'll sort out when it's convenient for yourselves as well and for our officers. But yeah, I'm more than happy to come down and have a look.
Thank you.
Okay?
Councillor Beavers, please, your question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is my third time of asking about the Clean Streets Act. I'm getting a bit weary about mentioning it and telling you the virtues of the app. You have on previous occasions said you were looking into it. I'm just wondering, can you tell me how is it going?
Well, so we're still looking into it, but it's not something we can rush into because it's something we have to make sure that marries up quite nicely with our systems. So the one that you suggested doesn't. I mean, it's a great app, don't get me wrong, and that sort of idea, yeah, I'm very keen on, but we've got to get it right. And then when we get what would be the appropriate one, I promise you'll be the first to know of it.
Possibly I can just come back on that.
Quickly then, please.
So it's just that LCC use the same security systems that we use now, because I can't receive any of the Wyre emails on my phone or my tablets or anything else because we use them. So it might be able to marry up now, which just. But I have got these cards, guys, and so if you see any potholes or there's any lights out or anything like that, you can report it. It's a really good app, and I thought if I shared it with across the board councillors and you all have one of these cards and you downloaded it and you saw how good it was, then we could all put pressure on this council to supply something like this, because it really is good. It's a no-brainer for all of us, and it's also great to share them with your residents as well. So if I just sort of we pass them along, is that all right? Am I allowed to do that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, that'll be fine, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Can you hit your
just take a
well,
could Councillor Stevens ensure that Councillor Stevens gets one?
yeah.
Pass them along.
So in reply, I'm not an expert on the tech side. In fact, I'm blonde, so obviously I'm not that good on that sort of thing. I have to take the officer's words that it's not compatible. I'll ask again if something has changed and see what we can do. I absolutely fully endorse having a look at one of those. Anything that we can do to improve on Edwards, I'm with you all the way. I'm sorry it's taken so long.
No, thank you. Councillor Birch, you indicate please, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm very grateful, please, Councillor Birch, if you would pass on my thanks to Sean at Poulton Cemetery. I was there visiting our family grave, and it had sunken badly due to the amount of rain, and I requested that the grave be topped up and whatever. It's quite a big job to do, and on my next visit to the grave it had all been done perfectly. I hasten to add, I did not say that I was a councillor. I didn't even give my name, but he was very obliging, so thank you very much to Sean. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll never ever get tired of saying how superb our officers are. They go above and beyond. Whoever he or she may be, they put in everything. They are fantastic, and it's great to hear, and it's great that they get complimented. You know, every time I see them walking around cleaning the streets or digging up plants, I would go and say thank you, and it should be acknowledged every time, and so thank you very much.
In addition, there's Mark and Mel, who are the gardeners locally around Poulton. If you point out a particular area, they are always keen to go and sort it for me. So to pass on my thanks to Mark and Mel as well.
Will do.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Preston, please, thank you.
Thank you. Just following on from Councillor Birch's comments, I've had various comments from the public thanking your ground team for the upkeep in making Jean Stansfield, the Vicarage, Tide Barn and Tomlinson Park enjoyable areas, so I'll pass that on.
Thank you. We're very lucky to have those areas, aren't we? And as well, like Parks and Fleet was superb. I was there the other day walking my dog, and you know, we are very lucky in our open spaces.
Thank you. Any more questions from the portfolio holder? No. Well, that concludes the consideration of the street scenes, parks and open spaces portfolio holders report. We'll now move on to the report of the planning policy and economic development portfolio holder. So, Councillor Marinell, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Reports influence to members. Happy to take questions. Thank you.
Councillor Fail, you indicate first, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, an observation that you may wish to respond to. I read with much interest the consultation for Cleveland's transport study. A couple of things immediately struck me. Firstly, with funding for this coming from the Department for Levelling Up, one might have expected the plans to seek some form of actual levelling up, perhaps tackling the known issues with deprivation. Sadly, that departmental misnomer continues to mislead. Secondly, although I can see some of the proposed change to be beneficial, above trying to discourage vehicles from using Victoria Road and trying to encourage footfall, it's not completely clear what the proposed road changes would achieve. My second comment is more than an observation. It's a request to ensure that consultations such as this and Fleetwood Seafront Master Plan are seen and reviewed by all stakeholders before going out to public consultation. In particular, including ward councillors as stakeholders. With regard to the Cleveland's plan, such a review could have ensured that residents who would be directly impacted by the proposed road changes were individually and, this is the important bit, formally consulted. A review by ward councillors would have also resulted in the immediate suggestion to ensure that Ellerbeck Road parking problems were tackled. After all, residents and visitors have had to put up with the public highway being used as a car lot for way too long. This is an ideal opportunity to sort out the problems on Ellerbeck once and for all, and at the same time provide additional parking spaces on Ellerbeck Road to replace some of those that are being lost by proposals on Victoria Road. Thank you.
Would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Pell. It would really just be for me to say the consultation is open and it's out there, and we would really encourage residents to come forward with their ideas. I've already had some residents contact me who live on Roughly Road And I agree with them that, you know, what we've got to avoid is the fact of a lot more heavy goods vehicles coming down there, but it's not the ideal road for them to go to. So I would just basically encourage residents to go and fill in the survey that's online, read the notes before doing so, and we're just looking forward to as many responses as possible. The more responses we get, and the more people come forward with ideas and suggestions, we will of course come forward to ward councillors and speak to everybody, because we want to get as good a road use and circuit as it is around there. Yeah, I would ideally like to see Victoria Road completely pedestrianised, because it would be fantastic. But as you say, we've got to find out the parking spaces and stuff like that. That evidently going to push out in that way.
Councillor Martin, you've indicated you'd like to put your question, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Could I ask the portfolio holder, since I became a councillor on May the 4th, the most questions I've been asked, I think the first one was on May the 5th, it's around Ellerbret Road, as Councillor Fairley just said. Now, this consultation, now is the time, once and for all, to sort out this blight on Civic Centre. Escort cars. They are using it as a parking lot. We took pictures, residents have taken pictures, some of the cars are not taxed, some of the cars are not MOT, they're stacked bumper to bumper, nobody can get in or out. As we could lose the parking bays by the Halifax, could we ensure we get parking bays on Ellerbet Road? Some residents are on about setting up a group to look at the legal side of this. Could I suggest to them, there is a solicitor's 50 yards away on Bispham Road, solicitors. Would he be interested in helping them?
Would you like to respond to that?
We'll have to declare a conflict now.
Around the corner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the economy goes, I'm sure we'd like to bring as much work as possible, so I'm sure the leader will be happy for the work that's happening. As for Hesketh's cars, if they're not taxed MOTs, then they should be booked, as simple as that. And I agree with you. If that's not happening, then we need to try and get something sorted out there. Again, for the parking bays at Halifax, again, if we can look at Ellerbet Road, but it comes down to what I said to Councillor Fayle. You know, we need to get as many residents as possible to fill in the survey with their ideas and their objections and the complaints, and whatever they want to come forward. The more residents come forward, and the more we've got to use them to look at, and the more we can have a look at it and get the best result possible.
I'll pass the emails on to you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Beaver, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With recent planning applications potentially jeopardising the restoration of the rail line into Fleetwood Centre, I believe this is threatening the prospects for regeneration of Fleetwood and Poulton-le-Fylde and Wyre in general. For the good of the borough and its residents, we desperately need this council to find and then guarantee a rail route to Freeport. Is it possible that Wyre can put past mistakes behind it and start thinking about the bigger picture, and try to secure Wyre's long-term future rather than make a piecemeal changes that ultimately threaten the prosperity of the borough and its residents? The decision last week to look at outsourcing the Marine Hall and Poulton-le-Fylde Theatre is not going to go well with the residents. Both these facilities are the jewels in the Wyre crown, and we need to keep them and invest into them. I warn you that any moves to close either of these will be met with the same force and determination from the residents of Wyre and the Labour group that you received when you decided to try and keep Fleetwood Leisure Centre closed in favour of a much smaller and less used facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe that when the Beecham review came around and closed the rail line, we weren't around at that particular time. But I, like you, we're singing from the same hymn sheet here. I think every single member of this council wants to see a rail line of some description come forward on there. I absolutely do, because I think it'd be transformational for Fleetwood and for all the places down there. You know, you've got Thornton and Cleveland. and the estate there as well, it would just be absolutely fantastic. So this council certainly not put anything in its way for that, but as you know, it's not down to this council to make that decision. It's down to government, it's down to Network Rail. They're the ones who are going to make the decision. But we are singing from the same hymn sheet, like I said. We all want this to come forward, and it's simple as that. Where has the Marine Hall come forward? We want the best outcome. Everybody wants the best outcome for it. Is that a charity taking over there and a non-profit one and making a fantastic go of it will be a much better way for it to do that. But as a council, can any council carry on paying £500,000 a year to something that's not, to something that is not making money? We've got to find a better way to run it. As is Poulton-le-Fylde do the same thing. But that's why the consultation's there. And again, I keep saying, just like Cleveland is, get as many of your residents to come forward and fill in the surveys and fill in the forms and go to the events that are going to take place. That's the way we're going to find a better way and a clearer way for Marine Hall and Poulton-le-Fylde. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Minto, you indicated to speak, please.
Yes,
Question?
for the portfolio holder. As past president of the Chamber of Trade in Cleveland, and I was also a member of the Residents Association, if you get those two ginger groups involved in the parking situation, I'm sure they'll be very helpful towards that. And further on from the railway, the MP Maynard is all for that and he's pushing for the railway.
So it's a tram actually, if you want.
It is a you not. And on the last one about the leisure centre, if you look into how many private gins have opened in the Fleetwood, Cleveland, Thornton area, which are all competing against YMCA, all by people you might know or I may know, that's one of the biggest
Are you
problems.
speaking on a question to the portfolio holder? Okay, you want to respond or are you?
I'll take comments on board.
Councillor Brian Stevenson, but we are actually...
I'm obliged to you, Madam Mayor. Got in before the vote. I assume that when we talk about the leisure centre,
10 seconds.
we're referring to the Marine Hall. That is correct. What I'm, here we could be having an engagement.
I don't want to speak over you. You've only got 10 seconds.
Hello, what's going on? Right. 10 seconds. 10 seconds?
Yeah,
Well, the question is, what happens if you put the Marine Hall into private hands and it fails? What do they do? Just leave it derelict, empty? We had Fleetwood Pier. That was sold off to private hands, and look at it now. Nothing there. Nothing's happened. So does it not concern you, or all of that? This could be turn out to be a white house.
Councillor Stevenson.
That nothing is going
I don't
to
want to speak
happen.
over you, but
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
10 minutes is up on this portfolio. So that concludes the consideration of the Planning Policy and Economic Development Portfolio Holders Report. We will now move on to the report of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holder. So, Councillor Berry, would you please introduce your report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. My report's before members. I'll do my best to respond to any inquiries.
Councillor Martin, I think you indicated first there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, obviously the council's aware, this is a public document. Now, I see in his reply there at 6.1, I had a meeting with United Utilities on the 9th of August. Well, that's very good. I would like to know what happened. Is it fixed? What will happen if it happens again? Because I've seen the weather forecast for the next month, it's not looking good. Will we get adequate signage put up if there is any more outfalls from there, or sewage on the beach, or contaminated beaches? The reply just seems to be 5 lines saying you had a meeting. So I'm just asking for clarification. What was discussed and when will it be sorted? Is it sorted and will it happen again? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the meeting, I mean, the main concern was to ascertain that the works at the treatment plant were being carried out. We've been told that the problem, the immediate fault, has been carried out, but we also were told, and we insisted on this, that survey was taken of the whole plant to make sure that it was fit for purpose, etc. And I understand that this survey is taking place over a 7-week period. So, you know, we'll have to see what comes out of that at a subsequent meeting. It's a massive undertaking up there, because you know covers quite a distance, as you probably appreciate. So that was our immediate concern. I think we will follow this through to see that the other treatment, the other plants in the system are properly maintained. But I think one of the things that we are also concerned is better communications from UU. I think the Chief Executive has sent an email to the leader of your group setting exactly what the situation is as regards the messages that we get and the signage that we put out. Now, I think from that meeting we should be pressing that UU need to put proper sensors on all their outfalls so that we can get, or will be made available to the public, accurate measurements of the amount of spillages, i.e. the volume and how long that spillage has taken place. And I think carrying this further forward, because we were at one stage of the meeting joined by a member of the lead member of the Environment Agency team, we need to agree a better communication system between EE and UU, so that the public and this local authority in particular, and all local authorities, will have more accurate information so that they can give to the public as to whether they can swim or paddle in the water. And that's something that I can't give you an answer to. I'm hoping that we want more up-to-date information to come out in a proper fashion, because there has to be a balance between sort of continually feeding out information when we hear of a spill, because at the moment nobody can say exactly how much has come out in a spill immediately. We need to know that information so that we can give a balanced view as to whether it's okay to go swimming, etc. We don't want to cause the public to be really upset and concerned that we're not putting messages out every other day that there's been a spill. We need to know that spill will definitely affect people's health if they go swimming. So that's some ongoing work between those two agencies. I think as a council, listen to what the leader of the Labour group has said in particular, I think there is a case for better signage in our bathing water areas. We do have electronic signs which come automatically from the EA when we do have a problem, an issue. But I think it would be an idea if we could get those electronic messages out in one or two other areas. I'm not promising that we can put it throughout the coastline, but possibly within those designated bathing areas we can look to putting up a bit more signage. So something is coming out. We've got to have further meetings.
3 minutes for Councillor Rowan. Sorry, Councillor Baxter, please. You're educated.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's actually a similar follow-on question to that, which discusses future investment plans. I'm just wondering if UU suggested anything along those lines, and whether you feel that will solve the ongoing problems. Thank you.
I think, in all honesty, the future now is to avoid water coming down the tributaries and the water courses. We've got to have methods of holding back further up the catchment area, to be quite honest, to put in more concrete, to put in more sort of areas where we can contain water takes takes years rather to plan, finance and carry out. And as a media, we need to look to other methods of holding back water. And as the UU said, water is a valuable asset and we need to use it a bit better, to be quite honest. And I think that's where the thrust of the campaigns will be. But we have already been working with to manage water coming off farmland. We've been doing this with Natural England, and we'd like to see the likes of you putting more finance into these sort of projects so that we can sort of stop water coming near our residential areas, to be quite honest. So that's going to be the thrust of where hopefully their sort of planning is going to take place. But they will have to look and make sure that the assets they've got are working properly.
Thank you for that. Councillor Davis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Wyre barrage would hold lots of water back in it. It stopped a lot of flooding. Just before I ask my question, so I've answered that one for you already, Roger. Right. So I've been away on my happy holidays, and I got back on Saturday evening. The smell from the treatment plant in Fleetwood on Saturday evening was unbearable. That's what Fleetwood smelled of all night long. Nobody could have the windows open on one of the hottest nights of the year. And the residents tell me it was the same last Friday. Myself and Labour colleagues gave out the number for United Utilities across social media, and the smell wasn't about on Sunday evening. But please, Roger, get your finger out on this one. We've had poo in our sea and rivers, and now the smell is back in Fleetwood. You really need to be on top of this. It's just not good enough. Thank you.
Look, I mean, I think there's got to be communications at Fleetwood Town Council level as well, with UU as well. But I think one of the problems is when the weather is still, and this has been with us for quite a few years, when there's no breeze, when there's no, it's very still, and I think that probably the conditions, the days you were referring to were probably very still. It's sent up in the air is certain smells, and if there's no breeze, they're not carried away. And I think that's been a problem for quite some time, and I don't have the answer to that.
Can I just come back on that, Madam Mayor, just to say that it did go away, Roger. We had a terrible time of it in Fleetwood, and it did go away, and it was resolved with United Utilities, and it's now back in the summer months. So it's not something, it was something that happened. Lots of people were paid lots of compensation maybe 10 years ago, and they did resolve it, but it's now back, ferociously back. So it is a problem with the treatment plant. So, and it's something fresh. So I'd just like to add to that.
You indicated to speak, please. I think we're getting it to just like 1 minute, I think. So a quick question, please.
It pertains to a conversation I had with Carl Green only yesterday. One of the matters that I was discussing with him was the possibility of, and this may cross over into other areas, just like you typically get on new housing estates covenants where it restricts the ability of a house owner to build fencing in the front garden. I wonder if there's any possibility of any consultation with planning to start to insist, if it is at all possible, that new build properties have a certain percentage of their outdoor areas restricted, so that there is still soak away. So we're not having artificial grass going down, we're not having everywhere paved. I know that's particularly difficult to police, but that's one aspect I wonder whether the portfolio holder could look into. The other one I wanted to ask about was in relation to an idea that I put forward for being able to fund flood pumps for specific areas. As you know, I represent Preesall Ward. I'm concerned that the distance that it would take to travel from Fleetwood to Preesall in the event of some catastrophic flooding issue, it could be the difference between somebody's house being flooded or not. I made a suggestion to Carl Green that if there's a possibility within the communications team that maybe some space could be allocated from a commercial point of view in relation to when anybody goes on the website and looks for the days of the week when specific bins are to be put out. I know I'm somebody that looks on that every single week. I see that as a prime resource for the council to be able to utilise as a commercial opportunity to actually have businesses sponsoring that. And I believe that the money that could be generated from that could actually start to fund flood pumps for specific areas to be kept there. Only if I could have some support on that.
Yeah.
What was your quick one, Councillor Berry?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you had a productive meeting actually with Carl Green. He has come back to me briefly on it. I mean, yeah, it's an idea. One of the things that we want to do is to encourage people, you know, if they feel they're in a flood risk area, you know, to think about buying flood prevention measures for their own home, so that they're there if the occasion arises. They can be bought fairly cheaply. Now, I think we know of firms that do provide it, and there are local firms, and they can be bought online, this equipment. We've been a bit frightened in the past of sort of being accused of endorsing a company for supplies. I'd like to look at what you're suggesting, because it's something that we really do want to run out, so that residents, you know, are aware that products can be bought to protect their own homes. Secondly, I agree entirely. There's too many houses that are sort of concreting over. On planning, here's the planning matter.
Could this be arranged, like between this between both of you, that this can be carried on? Yes?
Okay, right.
Is that, yeah? That's great, thank you. That concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood and Services Community Safety Portfolio's Holder Report. We now will move on to the report of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holder. So, Councillor Bowen, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My report's before you and I haven't anything to add.
Indicated. Councillor Duffy, I've got first on here, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Bowen, in light of the recent issues that have arisen due to tenants having inadequate insurance for the beach huts, and the confusion surrounding this due to an email sent from Wyre to a leaseholder actually saying that they did not need building cover as Wyre insures on their behalf, and that the leaseholder only required contents and public liability. Are you now going to ensure that there is more scrutiny of the insurance purchased by tenants to confirm there is no doubt, especially in the worst case scenario that a beach hut or building is totally destroyed? You can be certain that there is appropriate cover in place. So, are there any steps being taken to review the insurance cover of the remaining beach huts and any other council-owned properties that are leased out to guarantee that the assets of the borough are safeguarded, especially as I have been informed today that the beach huts at this time will not be rebuilt? Yes, I appreciate totally that the lease did stipulate the tenants should have rebuild insurance, but when the question was asked of Wyre Council around this by a tenant, and the answer from Wyre Borough was as I've stated earlier, I feel that this has confused the issue around insurance, resulting in errors on both sides, and I just hope that procedures can be put in place so that there is definitely no repetition of this ever happening again.
Yes, it's been really confusing because there's been 3 phases, and these beach huts were in the second phase, and apparently the contracts and the leases were different in the first and third phase and the second phase. Hopefully, it's still up in the air with the insurance, but hopefully they will get rebuilt. No one's told me they're not going to be rebuilt, and I don't see why they shouldn't be. But it's just, it was unfortunate this happened. I don't think it'll be happening.
Thank you for that. I've actually got 5 people indicated to speak, so if you'd like to answer your questions, obviously quickly, because of the 10 minutes will soon be up. Councillor Baxter, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's regarding the recent closure at Kirkham Swimming Bath. Has there been any impact felt on Wyre's own facilities between the 3 swimming pools since its closure? Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. We're very fortunate to have the 3 council-owned pools in the borough, especially when living near the sea. It's so important for the children to learn how to swim. Residents in Farm must be very disappointed that the main pool is closed down now. Actually, the YMCA members are fortunate that they can use the Wyre pools as part of their membership. I'm pleased to say that there are 4 schools which formerly used curtain baths that have now moved to Wyre. Poulton being the nearest 4 Wyre schools in the area, more than half have gone to St Anne's, and this is, I presume, a decision made because of travel distances. Some children have also transferred their swimming lessons to Poulton. Probably without our facilities, these children would no longer be having these vital life-saving facilities.
Thank you for that. Councillor Martin, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick one. I noticed that there's Heritage Days today at the Marine Hall and tomorrow. Could I just ask Councillor Bowen when she gets out on a megaphone tomorrow to tell people it could be the last day of these Heritage Days, because as we all know in this chamber, as Councillor Stevenson has alluded to, it won't be there this time next year. Enjoy it while you can.
Well, I don't know where you get that idea from, because nobody else on this side of the chamber has even suggested the Marine Hall is going to close down. So I can assure you those Heritage Days will take place next year.
Thank you. Councillor Collinson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 4, Councillor, it is the Marine Hall and the Thornton Theatre. Can you give me an update on the Marine Hall and Thornton Little Theatre? How will the massive subsidies that we pay every year be addressed? What future do you see for the Marine Hall and Thornton Little Theatre, both for the community and commercial businesses going forward? And I think it's important. Thank you.
One, please.
Now, in the corporate plan, the priority is growth and prosperity, as well as keeping communities. The Marine Hall is not an option to continue to subsidise the theatre for over £500,000 each year. It has cost the council millions of pounds over the years. The latest medium-term financial plan for 23-24 sets a requirement to achieve £3,675,000 in savings for us just to balance the books. It's our duty to the council taxpayer to look at ways we can reduce the council's huge subsidies for the theatres. In 22-23, Marine Hall subsidy was worse than in any other year, while Poulton's Theatre was better and its income has increased. Both theatres are valued community assets. We're having a public consultation seeking their views, as well as an independent theatre trust consultation to look at how the Marine Hall is currently run and provide recommendations for the most viable future operating model, as well as helping to secure an alternative provider. Thornton Little Theatre is having a soft marketing exercise that will hopefully find an alternative provider, preferably through a lease agreement. We want to make sure these theatres continue to be available for wide and visiting communities for many years to come. They are exciting times for this whole waterfront area. It could be a great opportunity to make the area completely rejuvenated for families and visitors. A seafront master plan was developed in 2009, and now, as part of the theatre's public consultation, people can have their say on the future of Fleetwood seafront, as well as the theatres. This will put us in a good position for bidding for phase 3 of the Levelling Up Fund. There will be information boards which will include to be included the Marine Hall, the Leisure Centre and the market included. There will also be an online survey as well, starting next week, and they'll run for 6 weeks. It's really important that we get everybody's views on this so that we can take everything into consideration when we're looking at the future. But I'm very optimistic about the theatre's theatre trust because these people know exactly what they're doing. We as a council, we're not used to running theatres, we've never run theatres, so I think that these people, they're countrywide, they'll know exactly what the answers will be.
Thank you. Right. Councillor Brian Stevenson, please. Thank you. We have only 2 minutes left.
Yeah, it's just a general comment. I noticed from your opening purpose of report that you refer to the progress of the objectives of the Marine Hall. Now I'm fortunate enough to live across from the Marine Hall, and I see what a wonderful place it is. It's the jewel of the crown as far as I'm concerned, all of that area. You know, and it would be, what Councillor Martin just said, it would be a tragedy if something happened which it couldn't function on that route for much longer. I think it's important that we try to, and Lynn, that we keep in mind that, you know, well, I'll put it like this, and I'll be quick. I hope everything ends well, and I hope that you are in agreement with me that at the end of the day, a satisfactory solution.
I don't want to talk over you, but we've got 1 minute.
Yes, to resolve. To make sure this.
Sit down.
Thank you very much for your kind help, Councillor Beaver.
Councillor Wells, you indicated, obviously, it has to be quick. Okay?
I'll cut it short. It was really just based on, again, the Marine Hall and Poulton-le-Fylde Theatre, and just to note that the subsidies do seem quite perplexing when the venues have gone up 20%, the charge to hire the venues has gone up 25% in 2 years, and worse, wedding ceremonies have gone up 44% in the past 2 years. I did a quick Google search before I came out tonight about weddings at the Marine Hall. I'm not in the market myself, but I was very shocked to see how little competitive marketing there actually is for the Marine Hall. So the question really is if we are talking about potential consultation to go out, in the meantime, is it not possible for the council to undertake a review of the pricing structure to allow local people to utilise them as much as possible, because we have had reports that it is prohibitively expensive. Thank you.
Quick response, please.
This will all be looked at in the consultation process.
Thank you for that. So that concludes the consideration of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio report. Now is the opportunity for the members of the Cabinet to make any comments or ask questions on the report of their colleagues. Any members? Yes, Martin? Yeah.
I can make statements as well. With regards to the beach huts, Councillor Duffy, I've already asked the Chief Executive to look at that. We have had an issue with the Estates Department for a while. We struggled to recruit into it. We have a new head of the Estates with RAC and the impending changes to being able to let buildings to tenants when you have poor energy efficiency.
Sorry, can I just do a point? Sorry. I've asked a question to Councillor Bowen.
I'm allowed to make a statement. I'm allowed to make a statement. I'm allowed to make a statement, Councillor Duffy. If you want a comprehensive answer, I'm about to give it to you. Otherwise, I'm happy not to give it.
I would feel if I was Councillor Bowen a bit undermined that you're again answering something that I asked her. And again, you pulled me out of all the people that have been asking questions tonight.
I'll give you an answer, Councillor. Bother. Right. With regards to Elbert Road, if I'm allowed to answer that question as well, Councillor Duffy, have you got objection to that? If I can contribute as the leader of this council. You haven't answered. Okay.
I just think this is an opportunity for you to.
No, it doesn't conclude. I'm going to speak, whether you like it or not, Madam Mayor. With regards to Elbert Road and the consultation that's going on in Cleveland's town centre, as has been alluded to previously, I do know the area very well. It is not. It's not part of the site, Councillor Fale, that we're actually currently looking at. However, as we will get to in a moment, County Councillor Kay is currently out of action, and so I will take that up, but it won't come under the consultation that we're dealing with regards to Cleveland's town centre.
Councillor Kay is not the county councillor for that.
Fine.
That concludes the consideration.
Yeah, more hours in there,
That's right, that's fine. That concludes the consideration of the executive report, so we'll now move on to the agenda item 8. which is a proposal to establish a morality working group. So Councillor Vincent, would you please introduce the report and propose a recommendation?
If that's okay with Councillor Duffy, no problem. Madam Mayor, the mayoralty hasn't been looked at for a while. Members will not. We would be ill-advised not to accept that we've had difficulties over the last few years in finding members who wanted to take on the mayoralty, and there's various reasons for that. We only have to look at the changing demographic of our councillors. There's an awful lot less retired people here than there were when I first came onto this council. Many more people have full-time employment and family commitments that would mean that doing the mayoralty as it was 10 years ago would be impossible for them. So it's only right that members who will ultimately potentially have the opportunity to be mayor, form a committee, look at the mayoralty and look at a way that we can continue to deliver what is a service to the borough in a way that still benefits the borough, so that also members are attracted to the role and want to take it, rather than risk us falling into having to have the role more akin to having a chairman like Lancashire County Council do.
Is there a second of the proposal?
I'll second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions or amendments? No. So Councillor Vincent proposed over the recommendation. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Just, I'm no longer Councillor Sturzacre.
I was confused.
Please correct it. I've taken a sidestep back to my maiden
At least
name.
now I can see their lights before. That's I'm sorry, Councillor, at the beginning.
So that's the name that should be on it.
Right, okay then. Right, so that will be, obviously, we'll sort that one out.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, probably propose a recommendation. Would you please, well, everybody say? So we'll go on to, that concludes, well, no debate. Nobody wants to speak about regarding it, no? Okay, so would members like to vote on the recommendation? So those all in favour, please? Okay. Unanimous decision. So thank you. The recommendation is approved. So next item is item 9, appointments to committees, groups and lead member roles. Again, Councillor Vincent, would you please introduce the report and propose recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I alluded to previously, Councillor Kay is unfortunately quite unwell at the moment. She's been in hospital for several weeks, and we don't know when she'll be getting out. And even when she does get out, she won't be able to return to active duty quite some time. So we are to take the steps in the plan, in the report, sorry, to ensure that she can take a break and her duties are picked up. Her ward councillors are picking up their workload, so if anybody does get contacted for anything around Andrew's patch, Councillors Rendell and Ian Amos have kindly volunteered to help with their ward work. Other than that, put it to members, and also I'm sure you will all join me in wishing a speedy recovery.
Is there a second to the proposal, please?
Second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, or amendments? No. It looks like we're going straight to the vote, are we? That's would all members vote for the recommendation 3.1 of the report? All those in favour? Looks like it's another unanimous decision. The recommendation is approved. So thank you. The recommendation 3.2 and 3.3 have been noted. So we'll go on to item 10 now. So this is the appointment of the independent. Oh, sorry, am I being a bit too? Right, so we have to vote again on the last item, please. Upland 4, please. And for those against? And any abstentions, please? Thank you. So the recommendation is approved. Thank you. So thank you for that. The next item is item 10, appointments of the independent person up to the audit standards committee. Councillor Vincent again, would you please introduce the report?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. The mood music nationally is that at some point in the future the government will going to require us to have an independent member, as something Claire's been proposing for quite some time, and it made sense when we started the new 4-year municipal cycle to do this. Obviously we had to find somebody. Now that we've done that, I ask that members approve Mr Taylor, who would be a very suitable independent person. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Are there any comments, questions or amendments? Nobody? So would members please vote now on the recommendation? Those in favour, please show. Those any against? Any abstentions? Okay. The recommendation is approved. The next item is item 11, appointment to the Lancashire Police and Crime Panel, please. Councillor Vincent, would you please introduce the report, proposed recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report's before members. We were looking to have a second representative on the panel, and with the experience of the panel from the past, it makes sense that it's Councillor Poulton-le-Fylde, who will do a very good job, I'm sure you will all agree.
Is there a second of the proposal?
I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Is there any comments, questions or amendments? Okay. So will members now vote on the recommendation? Those in favour, please show. Those against? And any abstentions? The recommendations are approved, and the next item item 12, notice of motion. However, there are none, so that concludes the business for the evening, and the meeting is closed. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending.